Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I am your host, Charles. Along with me, as always, my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, and gunner, Jacob Gloff. How are you doing today, Jacob?
I am well, Charles.
That's good to hear. Now, do you know...
I'd ask how you are, but I don't care.
I know you don't. That's why I'll never say how I am.
Mm-hmm. How are you, Charles?
I'm contento.
You just... Okay, just answer.
Yeah, I'm contento. I'm content. Today, I will be pitching a television program that, while being a horror show, has nothing supernatural nor mystical science fiction, none of our usual standard tricks or surprises.
Pretty sacrilegious, if you ask me.
I know, it's just about the story concerns two serial killers who are also best friends.
Oh.
Yeah.
I like it.
One of them, his name is Stephen Miller. He is a serious, hateful, rage-filled man who loves true crime. He loves studying killers, serial killers, cult leaders, that sort of things. He is a violent man who has a certain predisposition towards killing women. You know, he's one of those guys.
Classic. Yeah,
classic kind of serial killer model. He's not got very many social skills. He spends a lot of his time alone thinking. He has a journal where he composes beautiful, intricate poems and stories all about killing people, usually women, because he's not a good person.
So after yourself in the story, who do you have?
Well, he's
not a serial killer. It's just a joke for the NSA or whoever.
I'm not a serial killer, I promise. Stephen Miller is kind of your typical Ed Gein style reclusive murderer, And his name's Stephen Miller. And our second character, his best friend, is Stefan Milner.
Oh, like James Milner.
Yes.
He's a soccer player. I don't know why you said yes.
Because
you wouldn't know who he is.
Milner is the correct pronunciation, but they have very similar names, which I think is part of the reason they became friends. And Stefan Milner is much closer in serial killer archetype to like a Ted Bundy. He's funny and lighthearted and intelligent. He's charming, but he's also very intricate in his plans. He's not really as interested in killing women. He's just interested in killing people, and he's interested in causing pain and suffering. But he's able to hide it underneath this facade of being a very genial, nice person.
Yeah.
And while Stephen enjoys writing about his various escapades of murder, Stefan is the kind of guy who loves to film it. He films all of it, And these two horrible, horrible men live together in a van that they call the slaughter van. And the slaughter van is this big white van that has, a little sleeping area and then cupboard, and then there's a curtain. And you pull back the curtain and it's just all horrible murder implements, chains and knives and all this torture murder stuff. And so the story is of these two men, Stephen and Stefan, driving across the U.S., murdering as many people as they can get their hands on. But because Stefan is such an intelligent planner, he knows that they can't have the same MO every time. So each episode or each murder that they commit, they have to, do a different thing. So maybe one episode they'll cut up a guy into a dozen tiny pieces and spread them across the county. Another episode they freeze a guy in something that's frozen. I can't think of
something that's frozen.
Yeah, what's frozen?
Nice.
What freezes? What's that? Liquid nitrogen. They freeze a guy
liquid nitrogen. That's what it is. Yes.
They freeze a guy in liquid nitrogen and
carbonite.
Drop him in a lake or something. Yeah. Something like that. So each episode, because I am a gore whore. I am a gore hound. I like gore. I like horror. So I think that this show would give us a lot of opportunities to do very interesting, weird, horrifying Saw-like traps and kills that, tell us something about the character, give us some, gore, give us gore whores some, much-needed violence, and, provide something for these guys to spend their time doing. And I think that most of the show will concern these two guys, and when they're not murdering, they're bickering, right?
Okay.
So they're two best.
So it's kind of comedic.
Yeah,
the show.
It's kind of like a horror comedy, but there are no funny parts when it's being horrifying.
Yeah.
When the horror is happening and they've kidnapped, 3 teens and they have them in their van, that's horrifying. But then afterwards, when they're, discussing what, fast food restaurant to go to after they've done the murders, and, there's still one of the teens left, and they're like, "We'll get you chicken nuggets," or whatever. That's supposed to be funny. So these guys are constantly bickering and undermining each other and, discussing what they should and shouldn't do on their next, spree. Oh, next time we should, cut out his tongue, or next time we should not leave so much physical evidence behind, because Steven is a lot more reckless than Stefan, but Stefan is a lot more sadistic. So Steven just wants to kill somebody because he likes killing. He just likes killing. Stefan wants to torture people, He's that kind of guy.
Okay.
And because these two characters are so awful by their very nature, they're terrible people, our third main character is Detective Josephine Monroe, who is a disgraced cop who ratted on her fellow officers during, she talked to Internal Affairs and got a big, corruption ring in her department found out.
Yeah, and they're resentful because, they got...
So they're resentful.
She got people kicked off the force.
And so she didn't get kicked off the force, but she's not gotten any time. They just don't want her around, but they can't think of it. They don't have a good reason to kick her off the force.
No one talks to her and stuff like that.
Yeah, so she's this disgraced cop who has become obsessed with this series of murders that she believes to be connected somehow, but no one else believes they're connected, because serial killers always maintain the same MO, right?
Yeah, and they just don't really have the same MO.
Exactly.
They keep changing because it's two people, I say. Yeah.
And it's two people who have spent their entire young lives, because I'm imagining these guys are in their 20s. Maybe Stefan is in his mid-30s and Steven is in his late 20s, Because they'd be, there's a little bit of an age gap. But they have spent their entire lives watching and consuming murder and true crime and serial killer media, and they've watched all the documentaries and read all the books and seen all the TV shows, so they know how these guys get caught. And obviously most serial killers want to get caught. That's part of it. They want to tell people about their murders, but Stefan doesn't want to get caught. He's smarter than that. He's like, I don't want to get caught, at least not until we've done a lot of murders. Steven's less interested in maintaining his freedom, right?
Yeah.
So Detective Josephine Monroe teams up with somebody, maybe, I haven't really thought of who she could team up with, maybe a junior reporter, or somebody who's just, their family was killed by these guys, and they're trying to, figure it out. And Detective, who should this person's name is? We should come up with a good name for him right now.
Serious or funny?
It's funny. Let's be funny. Oh,
Butterface.
That could be their nickname.
Butterface. Yeah. Maybe his real name is
Anthony.
Bob. Well, it's gotta be similar, right?
Yeah, but I was thinking Butterfield can be his last name.
Butterfield.
Anthony Butterfield.
Anthony Butterfield.
Yeah, heir to the Butterfield fortune.
Yep.
So his whole family.
They make butter.
Yeah, they're the best damn churners in the state. The best damn butter churners this side of the Mississippi. That sort of thing. And so, Detective Monroe and Butterball, what's his name? Butterface team up, and they're like, we have to, investigate. And Detective Monroe has figured out some tenuous link between all of these murders something that connects them all, but it's very tenuous and not nearly enough to lead a full-scale, like, interstate, you know... What's the thing where...
Task force.
Yeah, but what's the thing where police...
FBI?
States have, like, the police officer's area of power? You know?
State, jurisdiction.
Multiple jurisdiction, you know, police raid and chase on this hunch that she has. So, Detective Monroe and Butterface also get a car. It's not a murder van, it's just a regular car. And they drive across the country, and they're like 2 days behind our guys, right?
Oh.
So I think this is...
Following the trail of blood and destruction.
Exactly. So I only have the first season down, but the first season, you know, I'm thinking it's probably going to be like 10 episodes long, if that, you know?
Yeah.
And the first episode is them just establishing character. We just, you know, we have Steven and Stefan talking, you know, maybe they're having a funny conversation, they're being genial and charming, and the audience doesn't know that you're supposed to hate these guys yet. And then at the end of the first episode, you know, we reveal that they have like a whole family in the back of their van that they've just been like slaughtering.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. And then we can also, you know, have a split story between them and Detective Josephine, and she's just been like taking all of her stuff home from the office, you know, because she's not getting any hours in, and like maybe she's got bills that she can't pay because she hasn't worked at all for the past 6 months, and you know, that sort of thing. So and we can like go to her house, and maybe she's got one of those big red string rooms that all crazy people have.
Yeah.
Where they have like things bing, 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 bing. You know? Just to show their characters. And then at the beginning of the second episode, Stefan and Steven, they get on the road, they start going. We could have a fun road trip. They're singing songs, they're, you know, doing that sort of thing. And then I think each episode or every other episode, they should kill somebody, you know? Maybe in a different state, they kill somebody every other state or something.
Yeah.
And they're, you know, we don't show in excruciating detail, but we do show a little bit, you know. This is still a horror show, so we show a little bit of their, you know, horrible, monstrous activities. And
yeah, you could have like I was just thinking of a fun scene where, you know, they're driving, and you've got the camera looking at the two of them in the front seat. And you can see the back of the van. You can see someone tied up in the back. And they're just like, you know, driving. And then they turn up a song. And he's like, oh, I love this song. Maybe it's like, what's the one that goes like, dancing in the moonlight, everybody. I'm thinking of that one scene from that one movie. No, well, that works too.
Yeah.
But, you know, they're like singing along, dancing in the moonlight.
Yeah.
And he's like... maybe Steven's like really into it, and who's the other guy?
Stefan. Yeah.
Stefan is like, he's like, all right, I'm gonna go kill the guy. I guess Stefan's more charismatic, so maybe Stefan's into it, and Steven's like, all right, I'm gonna go kill the person in the back. He's like, oh yeah, sure, and he's like, Steven like is like walking back there. And he's got pulls up a big knife, and Stefan just like keeps turning up music. It's like dancing. He just keeps singing and is like having a good time.
Yeah.
But we're still on that same shot
so we can
of like him,
see, like...
and we can see in the background he's like stabbing this person in the back, and he's just still like having a good time. So we have this like terrible murder scene in the back, but then we have like this guy dancing and having fun while he's driving, singing.
And maybe
along.
they get somebody, because I think that scene would be very good. And then we could have another scene of them singing along, and they get somebody in the back. And they're like, sing the chorus, come on. And they're like, and maybe we can play a song that's got a chorus where they don't actually say any words. They just go, or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
And every time he wants him to sing, he like hits him with a cattle prod. And he's like, and then it's like, yeah, there we go. Yeah, that sort of thing. So, yeah. I think that scene that you just pitched is very representative of kind of the tone that the show is going for, you know?
Yeah.
And so they're driving across the country. They do all sorts of weird, horrible murders. Maybe they could like, oh, this is the world's biggest rubber band ball, and they can like crush somebody with it. You know, like they go to the world's biggest rubber band ball at like midnight, and there's only one guy there, and he's like, oh well, we're always taking visitors, and then he shows them around, and there's a whole tour of the world's biggest rubber band ball museum, and it's just like, it's very plain. It's just like a rubber band in a glass box, and then like a rubber band ball in another glass box, and then this enormous rubber band ball. And then they like squish a guy with it, and then the death is ruled as like an accident or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But Detective Monroe, she knows better. She's smart, so she goes and she finds a clue, and like goes through the security tapes, and maybe Stefan like throws away the security tapes because he's smart, but they forgot like there's one frame of a tape where their car is visible. In a reflection, and that's all they have to go on. But yeah, so the whole
some joke. It's like, okay, so we know the murderers are in a white van. Yeah, that's helpful.
Yeah, awesome. Oh, and the plates are not real. They're not real plates. I just looked them up. They're not. Yeah, that sort of thing. And then final episode, I think we have Detective Monroe and Butterface. They are hot on the trail of the Miller killers, right? And we could have them like
the Mills.
Yeah, they're hot on the Mills trail, and the Mills are smart enough that they figure out that there's a detective coming after them. So they kidnap him. Then Butterface and Detective Monroe are trapped in the murder van. Maybe they've gotten to the other side, all the way to the other side of the country. They could start in New Jersey, and the end of the season ends in California. And so they're like, you're about to die. They're on the edge of a cliff. There could be a scary thing. Maybe Butterface gets tortured. Monroe escapes. She like picks her locks. We have like a whole final girl thing where they're running and they're fighting, and there's violence, and maybe somebody gets like stabbed right in the finger crotch, because I always think that's a really
can hurt a lot.
Yeah, right. Well, I always think that's a really good scene when somebody like puts their hand up and he chops them with like a what do you call it, a cleaver, and it goes right in between the two fingers and goes like into his hand.
Yeah, because that's everyone's nightmare.
It really
getting a cut there hurts so much.
It hurts so much. Imagine if like your whole hand got cut in half there.
Yeah.
Hurt a lot more, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Probably. And, eventually, Monroe, she apprehends Stephen Miller. She's got him on the ground, gun to the back of his head, holding him down, and she's talking with Stefan Milner, right? He's standing at the edge of the ledge or cliff. Yeah. Overlooking, these choppy seas, and these are shark-infested waters, and
he's standing on the precipice.
Yeah, there's no way he would survive if he fell. And she's like, "Come in, I've got your partner here. It's the end of the line. You're gonna be prosecuted for all the crimes that you did, you fucking monster. All the evidence you filmed, all of the evidence, we have it all, that sort of thing." Where Stefan's hubris for filming everything kind of comes out to bite him in the ass because they have all the evidence they could ever need. And he jumps off the cliff, right? Jumps off the cliff, presumed dead. 6 months later pass, right? Detective Monroe has been reinstated given a Medal of Honor or something. She has national acclaim. She's booking a book tour. She's, all that sort of stuff. Butterface is, maybe he was injured severely in the final confrontation, so he's healing, that sort of thing. But he's doing good. Everybody feels good. Stephen Miller's case, he just got convicted and sentenced to, 600 lifetimes or whatever, that sort of thing. And he refuses to give up any information about Stefan. He refuses to tell the police his real name, it is his real name, but refuses to tell the police where they met, who he is, where he would go, that sort of thing. He's keeping his mouth shut because Stefan really embedded that into him, and maybe we can have that throughout the show. Steven.
Oh, he's loyal to his friend.
Yeah, Steven being a lot more loyal than Stefan is, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then we, reveal everyone's happy, everyone's, the story's over, seemingly. And we reveal, much like the end of The Silence of the Lambs, Stefan is alive and well, living in South America. He's got like a new haircut, that sort of thing. Maybe he's got like a tan face, and he's, reading the newspaper, and he sees, or reading his phone, because it's the present day. He's reading his phone, and he sees Detective Monroe. He sees her face on the thing, and he just closes the story, folds the newspaper, folds it back in, folds it, puts it under his arm, and gets in his van again, turns it on, and starts driving away. And as you're driving away, we go back to a camera shot where we can see just out of the corner of the shot that there are some people, or somebody trapped, hung up, strung up with meat hooks through their wrists, hanging in the van as, Stefan is driving away. And we know the story's not quite over yet.
Oh.
Yeah. And what song should we play at the end? Psycho Killer.
It's gotta be some evil
Kiss
sound.
Say. Fa 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 fa. Run, 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 run away.
I don't know what song you're talking
It's Psycho Killer. Have you never heard that song? It's a great song. Yeah.
Or we could just do like a score, I don't know, something menacing.
Yeah, something menacing. Put some synths around it. Maybe we can cut to Steven, and he's playing an instrument in prison. And
it's like a violin.
Yeah, he's playing the violin.
That's pretty
in prison.
smart evil, and that continues to play.
Yeah, and maybe we can throughout the series, because I don't really want to give a backstory for either of these two guys,
Yeah.
But we can imply that Steven is a very highly educated individual who has decided that he hates it all and he wants to be a murderer who kills women and that sort of thing. But it could be like, oh yeah, he went to Berkeley School of Music or something. He is a very highly educated, highly skilled individual who has decided he wants to be a killer. That sort of thing. Yeah. Now that I've pitched the whole series, there aren't that many jokes in it, but I still think it would be a pretty good, fun series,
I'm excited. I think it's got that sort of level of evil, dark comedy where you can't laugh, but it's funny. It's you're conflicted as a viewer because you don't know.
Yeah.
You mix the lines between what's evil and what's funny.
Yeah. And
But that's what I'm thinking about with that one scene that we came up with the the singing and the terrible murder in the background. Scenes like that where it's got you don't know if you should laugh or not.
Yeah. I'm thinking it has a lot in common with a Rob Zombie picture, but less grimy, because I'm a big fan of Rob Zombie as a filmmaker and a musician, but I tried to watch 31, which is one of his most recent projects, and it was just unbearable, because Rob Zombie is all about, he's got that filthy, diseased Americana aesthetic, and the part of Rob Zombie's charm is that every character in his movies is just a terrible fucking person, which is, fair enough. That that's a perfectly reasonable way to do your stories, but it's just oh my god, these people are so mean and so dumb that it's ugh. Because there's a lot of cool, funny, interesting stuff in that movie. There's it's basically about a group of survivors, and they're captured by all these rich people and forced to go through this gauntlet of serial killers. Yeah. And one of the serial killers that they have to fight is a little person, but he's also a Nazi. So he's this really, really horribly racist, offensive little person who's got a giant swastika painted on his chest and a little Hitler mustache, and he can speak Spanish. So he just insults everyone in Spanish, which just seems very odd for a Nazi to know Spanish, but what do I know? And Like, there's cool stuff in that movie, but it's just so horrible all the time with no respite that I'm like, ugh, you know? So I don't want it to be that. I don't want, like, to make people vomit when they watch our show, but at the same time, it would be nice to make people a little queasy when they watch our show, right?
Yeah.
But
I like the conflicted feeling where you know, the main character is evil. I think there's a TV show on Netflix right now called You, which people like, which is about like a serial killer. And he's like the protagonist. I don't really know a lot about the show, so it's not really good that I'm talking about it.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of like the protagonist is evil, and you're supposed to not like them, but you can't help but like them a little bit because they're the protagonist.
So, in our TV shows, we usually cast ourselves. Not usually. Sometimes we do.
We should be the serial killers.
That's what I was thinking. The only people, because there's only like 4 characters in the show, the only people we could play would either be like 2 random victims, you know, of the serial killers, or the serial killers themselves.
All right, if we're doing this realistically, we're victims because we're not actors.
Yeah, that is true.
But if we want to be fun, which serial killer would you want to be?
I want to be, I would want to be Steven, because he's the mean.
You're gonna be Steven?
Yeah, I want to be the mean one. You know?
Oh, okay. I was seeing you more as Stefan, but
exactly.
That's what I'm good with that.
I think that my personality is a little bit closer to Stefan's, which is why I would want to play Steven. You know?
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Because I'm not very charming, so I don't think I could do Stefan.
You're charming enough.
I could try.
If we could get Zac Efron to play Stefan, I would love that.
Zac Efron would be great as Stefan.
And who should play
Steven should be someone that's like
Tom Holland.
Like Jesse Eisenberg.
Or Jesse.
Oh, okay.
I was thinking
someone like that's kind of like a smart person. I feel like Tom Holland's too charming to be Steven.
Exactly. I want to challenge him, you know? Because he's too busy being Peter Parker's and Nathan Drake's and whatever fucking character he was in Chaos Walking. You remember that movie where it was like Daisy Ridley, she's just a girl and she can read my mind? That sort of thing. Seemed like a bad movie.
What if we get Robert Pattinson as Stefan and Daniel Radcliffe as Steve?
That would be good.
Because then they look similar and they have similar names.
Yeah. And
but,
Stevens.
You know, Robert Pattinson's more charming than Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah.
So.
And that would be good. And we could get, who should we get? We could get Zoe Kravitz as Detective Monroe, and Butterface can be Colin Farrell. And this can just be the Batman show.
Yeah, it's the Batman with Harry Potter.
With Harry Potter, he's there.
I didn't realize until the very end that was the Batman cast.
But the only title I have for this is Splatterpunk, which is a genre of
Splatterpunk.
Which is
I like that name.
It's a very good name. I didn't come up with it. It's like a genre of horror, but I like the name, and that was kind of the first thing that came to mind when I had the idea for the pitch. Well, I was like, I want it to be a Splatterpunk show. So I think Splatterpunk would be a fun name. You know?
I really like the word splatter in that. Yeah. Splatter, I think, is a great word for this.
Yes.
Splatterpunk.
Splatterpunk.
It's nice. I like it.
Yeah. All right. Well, this episode's a little bit shorter than the last one we did, but that's okay.
Yeah, that works. Yeah. If you didn't know, we're doing a double, so I'm happy to end it early.
Well, thank you all for listening to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I've been your host, Charles Long. With me, as always, been my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, and gunner, Jake Gloth. If you like what you heard here and you want to hear more, give us a like, follow, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your dog. Yeah, and we will be back here again next week to pitch another TV show just for your little old ears to listen to. So be safe till then. Don't get in any slaughter vans.
Yeah, try not to.
Yeah. And if you are currently a serial killer or a serial killing duo, give us a call. Tell us what you thought of the well, go to the police first. You turn yourself in, but also tell us what you thought of the show.
No. Give us a call at 911
and then
give us your address, and we'll be right over to talk to you about the about some opportunities.
Leave a comment on the YouTube video. I think they let you have YouTube in jail. Just leave a comment. Tell us what you think. All right. Have fun in jail. Goodbye.
Bye.